If you've ever stared at your fridge at 5 p.m. with absolutely no plan on what to make for dinner, I see you and I hear you, and I've been in your shoes before. But that's exactly why I plan and prep the way that I do. I prep a few basic ingredients on Sunday that allows me to make 4 completely different dinners during the week. They're high protein, they're healthy, they feed my entire family, and I'm able to put them together in about 15 minutes or less. That's a complete win in my book, seeing how around 5 p.m. in my house with 2 little kids, after working a full-time job, the last thing I want to do is think about what we're going to have for dinner. So with my plan, you're able to know what you're going to have for dinner, get it on the table in less than 15 minutes, and actually eat a good tasting meal that is healthy. You can get the prep plan, the ingredient list, and the menu all linked down below completely for free. And if you've missed the meal prep video that goes with this week's menu, you can go ahead and see that video here. I've linked it as well. But this video, I'm gonna walk you through how those 4 meals came together during the week. Real life look into my kitchen at 5 p.m. So without further ado, let's get started. So first up was one of my favorites this week, my healthier spin on a Philly cheesesteak, and this one is just so good. This week I'm mixing and matching a few simple components to turn them into 4 different dinners. Nothing fancy, just real, easy meals using what we already prepped. This is where having everything prepped ahead of time really pays off. I already have my ground beef cooked, along with sautéed mushrooms, bell peppers and onions, and some roasted gold potatoes ready to go. So first thing I'm doing is taking those potatoes and tossing them into the air fryer. This is key because they were already roasted. This just brings them back to life and gets them nice and crispy again, and it honestly makes such a difference versus just microwaving them. While those are crisping up, I grab this skillet and add in the mushrooms, peppers, and onions. I like to heat those up first so they can get a little bit of that sautéed texture back. Then I'll go ahead and add in the ground beef and mix everything together. At this point, everything's basically done. Just needs to get warmed through, and this is also where I'll go ahead and portion out that half of the mixture and put the rest back into the containers for later in the week. This is how I stretch one prep into multiple meals without doing extra work. Once everything's hot, I sprinkle shredded cheese right over the top and let that melt down into the beef and veggies. It gets all gooey and ties everything together. It's so good. By now the potatoes are crispy and ready, so I'll plate those up first, then spoon that cheesesteak mixture right over the top. This is one of those meals that just feels super comforting and indulgent. It's actually a really balanced, high-protein option. You're getting all those classic Philly cheesesteak flavors just in a way that fits into your weeknight routine, and honestly, I didn't even miss the bread. It's simple, it's filling, and it's one of those meals that the whole family will actually eat. All right, next up we have chicken fajitas, and this is another one that comes together so quickly because, of course, everything's already prepped. I'm starting by grabbing the chicken that I had already cooked earlier in the week with taco seasoning. I like to slice it up into strips here so it feels a little bit more classic fajita style. Then I'm pulling out the sautéed peppers, onions, and mushrooms that we actually used the night before, but this is a great example of how I'm reusing components to make a completely, totally different meal without starting from scratch. I add the peppers and onions into a sauté pan first, just to get them warmed back up a little bit and that texture back. Then I go in with the sliced chicken and let everything heat together. This part is super quick. Everything's already cooked, so we're really just bringing it all back to life. While that's warming, I make a really simple guacamole. Nothing fancy, just a ripe avocado and some garlic salt. That's it. You can definitely elevate this with lime juice, cilantro, all of that. But honestly, on a busy weeknight, simple is all I need, and it still tastes so good. Next, I warm up some tortillas. And for my kids, I like to keep things super easy, so I'll just make them a little quesadilla instead. It's just way less messy and easier for them to eat. I'll serve the chicken and peppers on the side for them so they can pick at it however they want. For us, I'll build more of a traditional fajita tortilla, and then the chicken and pepper mixture, and then all of the toppings. I add some shredded cheese, scoop that guacamole, and then use Greek yogurt instead of sour cream for a little extra protein. This is one of those meals that feels super fresh and flavorful, but it takes barely any effort because all of the work was already done earlier in the week. It's flexible, family friendly, and just really easy to throw together on a busy weeknight. Wednesday night was a super simple ground beef bowl, and this one was actually a little bit of a pivot moment. I had originally planned to do ground beef and broccoli, but I had these Brussels sprouts in the fridge that I didn't want to go to waste, so we made it work, and honestly, it turned out so good. So I start by taking the Brussels sprouts that I had already prepped earlier in the week. I just trimmed them, cut them in half, and stored them in a Ziploc bag so that I could just throw them in the air fryer on this night. So toss those in the air fryer, gave them a quick spray with avocado oil, and let them cook until they're nice and crispy on the outside. This is one of my favorite ways to eat Brussels sprouts. It just takes out that bitterness and gives them such a good texture. While those are going, I grab my ground beef and add it to a skillet to warm it back up. And then I added a little bit of soy sauce and some minced ginger to bring in that flavor. It's really minimal, but it just makes such a difference and gives it that quick, almost like takeout style vibe. At the same time, I have rice going in the Instant Pot. Another one of those things that just makes weeknights so much easier. You can set it and forget it, and it cooks in like 3 minutes. It's ready by the time everything else is done. Once everything is hot and ready, I build my bowl with a base of rice, then add the ground beef and top it with those crispy Brussels sprouts. I love this meal because it's so easy, but it feels really flavorful and satisfying, and it's also super flexible. You can swap out the Brussels for broccoli like I had originally planned, or honestly any veggie you have on hand. This is one of those meals that proves you don't need anything complicated, to make something really good. On Thursday night, we did a honey mustard chicken, and this one feels a little elevated, but is just super simple. I start by pulling out my prepped chicken breast that I had lightly seasoned earlier in the week, along with the rest of the roasted potatoes and those Brussels sprouts. First thing, Brussels sprouts go straight into the air fryer. Same process as before, just getting them nice and crispy again, and it really brings them back to life and gives them that texture that you want. While those are going, I sliced up the chicken breast so it heats evenly and feels a little bit more intentional for the dish. Then I made a super simple honey mustard sauce, literally just honey, Dijon mustard, and a little garlic salt. That's it. It took maybe 30 seconds, but adds so much flavor. And I added the sliced chicken into a skillet to warm it up. Once it's heated through, I poured that honey mustard sauce just right over the top, let it bubble a bit, start to caramelize. It thickens up slightly and it coats the chicken really nicely. Once the Brussels sprouts were done, pulled those out, swapped in the potatoes so they can crisp up in the air fryer. This is another place where having everything pre-cooked just makes dinner so fast. You're just reheating and adding texture back in. Also, I have to mention I've been using these silicone air fryer containers and I really like them. They make cleanup a lot easier and they're dishwasher safe, so I'll link those for you guys in the description below. Once everything's done, I just plate it up. Chicken with that sticky honey mustard sauce, crispy potatoes, and Brussels on the side. This is one of those meals that feels a little different from the rest of the week, but it still used all the same components. It's easy, it's flavorful, and just keeps things from getting boring. So everything you saw came from the same core ingredients. We're just mixing and matching them in different ways so it actually feels like you're eating something new each night. That's really the goal with how I prep. It's not about making full meals ahead of time. It's about setting yourself up with components that you can turn into multiple dinners without starting from scratch. It saves so much time during the week, but it also keeps things from getting boring, which is honestly the hardest part of meal prep in my opinion. So if you've ever felt like you're eating the same thing over and over again, try this approach. Just switch up how you build your meals and it makes a huge difference. Let me know in the comments which dinner was your favorite, and I will see you next time. Thanks again for watching.